Are you tired of wasting time on drawing, playing music, or going on hikes in nature? Are you sick of being a lazy slob and only getting up at 7:30 every day? Are there moments of your day that you're not monetizing? Well, what if I told you that in just 14 simple steps, you'll learn how to wake up at 4 a.m. No excuses. Replace hobbies with revenue streams, turn your personality into scalable content, and use AI to optimize your optimization. Why go on a hike when you could film a hiking productivity reel? Why play music for fun when you could launch a digital course teaching others how to monetize playing music? And why read a book when you could summarize it, automate it, and sell it? Our scientifically unverified framework ensures that you never experience unproductive joy again. Still sleeping 8 hours a night? That's 33% of your life gone. With our system, you'll finally learn how to outsource your thinking, monetize your breathing, and convert every spare second into measurable growth. Remember, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, so if you're not succeeding, it's definitely your fault.
There's a little bit of irony in the fact that I've been putting off filming this video for about a week and a half now, and every day I've felt more and more guilty about it. Because all that time I sat there procrastinating, I couldn't stop thinking about everything else I could have been doing in that time. You know, while I was alternating between staring at the wall and scrolling past reel after reel of people leading way more productive lives than me. But come on, this is absolutely ridiculous by now, and something that we've seen over and over again in the past. And the big question is, why aren't we allowed to rest anymore? Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lola, and I make videos breaking down the systems and patterns that shape our everyday lives. So if you like this video and want to see more of what I have to say, make sure to subscribe below and be sure to hit the bell button to be notified every time I post. But let's get back into it, because the hibernation of the productivity hustle culture is officially over. And this time it's back upgraded and modded more than ever, because this time everyone's got an AI personal assistant helping them dive headfirst into all of those toxic cultures. So why is this intense push for productivity culture back on all our For You pages? Let's break it down. Now, as many of us know, this isn't the first time that hustle culture is rearing its ugly head, because productivity's really been evolving alongside industrialization, war, gender roles, and technology. Because up until the 1800s, productivity largely focused on agriculture and the production and consumption of food. And because of this, human output was cyclical and was tied to seasons, daylight, and their overall survival. But our modern day understanding of productivity started to pop up right at the beginning of the 19th century. Alessio Peroni writes, "It was shortly before the 19th century that to-do lists began to surface as well. In 1791, Benjamin Franklin recorded what was one of the earliest known forms of it, mostly with the intention of contributing something of value to society each day. The list opened with the question, 'What good shall I do this day?' This is where we first see the shift from productivity being survival-focused to daily self-structuring, and the idea that each and every day that we live should be intentionally directed towards contribution. After this, the Industrial Revolution really marked one of the first large-scale societal steps towards automation. More and more machinery was being introduced that required less human labor, because human labor often slowed down production and resulted in a smaller output overall. And so a common goal among many of these advances in the Industrial Revolution was something we recognize more and more now, to produce more in less time and with less resources. And this is the first stage where we started to see time becoming measurable and quantifiable, as well as able to be optimized. There was again big leaps in this idea of productivity around the 20th century. Countless studies over the years have argued that war commonly advances human civilization and technology. And the idea of productivity, especially in the workplace, accelerated alongside these advances. In fact, the rising popularity of daily diaries coincided with this industrial progression, with one of the earliest known to-do lists actually becoming available for purchase in the 1900s. Created by a department store owner, John Wanamaker, the planner's pages were interspersed with print ads for the store's catalogue, achieving two commercial goals at the same time. One, helping an increasingly busier population plan their days, and two, advertising the goods that would supposedly make this busier life easier. So even from here, we can start to see productivity being treated treated as a new potential market. After 1939, many countries' GDPs actually grew because there was such a revitalized need for production, mostly of war materials. So productivity began to be linked to patriotic duty. On top of that, World War II brought women into the workforce in large numbers. This growing presence of women in the workforce had major implications for how productivity is thought of today. Because even after the end of World War II, the numbers of women joining the workforce just continued to grow and grow. This suggests that larger numbers of women were stepping away from full-time domestic roles, but many still had equally demanding workloads at home. And by 1975, mothers of children under 18 actually made up nearly half of the workforce. So because of these additional expectations on women, working outside the home, maintaining domestic labor, and raising children all at the same time, this created such a new pressure that didn't previously exist at this scale. And this then created new opportunities for industries to present solutions to what was essentially a centuries-old problem, but just reframed for modern life. So convenience products, processed foods, domestic appliances, all marketed as time-saving tools, promised relief from overload, but often simply raised expectations about what could be accomplished. So getting to the late 20th century, as economies shifted towards white-collar work, productivity moved from factory floors to personal discipline. Planners, self-help systems, time management strategies, and high performance became mainstream. And now we're getting into a time that many of you probably remember well. 2016 was the first time we really saw this hustle culture on a completely new level. And this is largely because it was the first time we were seeing it on social media. Tim Ferriss's book on the 4-hour work week was back at the top of the charts. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was having another moment. And I'm sure a significant amount of us were all personally victimized by Ali Abdaal's endless stream of productivity content.
How many of you have ever felt personally victimized by
Ali Abdaal?
I remember every time I opened social media, people were showing these beautiful bullet journals, sharing about the new apps for Pomodoro timers that they had. And I remember so many people on YouTube and Instagram talking about getting up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. with this rise and grind, sleep is for the weak culture. There was this Wall Street Journal article that came out in 2016 that said that the most successful and productive people typically woke up at 4 a.m. and that they did that because there was minimal distractions around that time. They weren't getting emails, and there was less going on social media at that time. I know, remember a time when it all stopped? When you could scroll to the bottom of your Facebook homepage and it would say, "Thank you, you're done for the day." But this hustle culture became utterly huge. People saw it as this kind of moral trophy that you wore if you could get up early and do your gym sesh before school or work. If you slept in, you were just super lazy and unmotivated. I was in high school then, and even then I remember feeling like all of my spare time had to be monetized in some way. I downloaded Depop and Vinted and would look around my house seeing if there was anything I could sell. I signed up for a bunch of those surveys where you go in and sit with a group for an hour. And I remember this constant messaging that the extracurriculars that I was doing and the hobbies I had were only valuable if I could then put them on my CV. Even then, I was learning that leisure was wasteful unless it could be reframed as self-development. But as 2020 approached, there was a visible cultural shift. Because with all of us stuck at home during the pandemic, we all realized how burnt out as a culture we were. And the illusion of constant productivity and optimization just completely collapsed all around us. And this idea of a productive mindset became almost impossible for so many people. Because when survival's at the front of your mind, you're not thinking about how much you can optimize your time. Like seriously, the constant grind just felt almost ridiculous. And because TikTok started to get really popular while we were in lockdown, a lot of people didn't have much better to do while they were sitting around all day. But what we saw were some of the early trends on the app centered around soft life aesthetics. People slowing down, quite literally smelling the roses. Everyone got into baking sourdough bread, hitting their reading goals for the year, and picking up and trying new hobbies that they'd never seen before. We started to see this resistance against rest being framed as lazy, and there was a huge pushback against this capitalist productivity culture. But YouTube and TikTok wasn't only full of people talking about hobbies. People were openly critiquing this hustle culture. Conversations about burnout and mental health were becoming more mainstream than ever. And some huge questions began to enter the zeitgeist. Why is one job not enough to survive? Why are we measuring our personal worth by our output? And why do we have all of these connotations of morality circling enabling this productive mindset. So as we spent more time at home, we started to reassess the work-life balance. And while remote work was blurring a lot of boundaries, it was also exposing how much time people had been wasting while commuting. This is when a lot of the conversations about 4-day work weeks started to become a lot more serious. But unfortunately, this was only a pause of the productivity culture. It slowed down the system, but it didn't dismantle it. Economic anxiety and the cost of living continued to rise, the job market has only continued to tighten, and now AI is entering this mainstream conversation. And since the end of lockdowns in 2022, this productivity rhetoric has started creeping back in, slowly, bit by bit, except this time it's being repackaged as some aesthetic trend. And it's more amplified than ever because of these technological advances. So where are we now? It feels like we're in the sequel of this productivity culture, bigger and badder than the last time. Every time I open my phone, I'm being bombarded with all sorts of messaging. Like, AI helped me start new side hustles. Use ChatGPT to make $10,000 a month in passive income. Start automating your workflow. And what you can see here is there's been a big shift in the language that we use surrounding productivity, because it's shifted from discipline to leverage. It's no longer about working harder every second of the day, but actually multiplying yourself and your capabilities through technology, thus removing every point of friction in your day. AI productivity apps promise to manage your time more efficiently than you ever would be able to. AI time management tools claim they'll optimize your calendar automatically. AI content generation tools suggest that you can create endlessly, but without burnout, because the hard part is outsourced to a machine. In fact, entire ecosystems now exist around AI passive income courses and monetization systems, yet they're being sold by people whose main income system is selling those systems. And the subtle psychological shift here is, before you had 24 hours, but now you have 24 hours and AI. And if you have AI tools that can write, plan, design, and automate for you, what's your excuse for not being able to do the rest of it? And in that implication, the bar once again rises. It's no longer enough to be productive every hour of your day. You have to be strategically productive. You must be able to leverage and scale your workload. And you must increase your efficiency and productivity once again at a level that was only impossible a few years ago. So by automating this productivity, hustle culture is just being hidden behind layer after layer. Systems are being built to optimize systems. Tools are being designed to help you optimize tools. And we have to optimize our optimization. Yet it's still being treated as if we have more assistance than ever. The biggest difference that I noticed between productivity 10 years ago and today is that it's no longer just this mindset. It's now become a fully developed commercial ecosystem that profits from insecurity. Every morning routine video you see on TikTok is coming with affiliate links with exact supplements that they're using, the planners and journals that they're using, and the devices that supposedly unlocked their brain. People sell us Notion templates that are promised to organize our entire life, or build a second brain for us. And shitty AI productivity planners are marketed as life-changing systems. Yet a lot of these digital organization systems actually require hours to set up, which ironically adds labor in the name of saving us time. And productivity has once again expanded beyond just the work environment and into our personal lives as well. Because to be a truly productive person in 2026, you need to be getting out your red light mask every day, doing cold plunges, using sleep trackers, taking 30 supplements a day for focus. Every single part of your life has become a potential site for improvement. More than that, so many people online are now merging education with monetization. We've got random people with absolutely zero qualifications selling us productivity bootcamps and masterclasses, AI monetization courses. And the underlying pattern in this that was just as evident 10 years ago is that there is always money to be made off convincing people that they're behind. As economic anxiety continues to rise with layoffs and job fears over AI, as well as cost of living pressures, optimization products ironically sell better because they're offering us some semblance of control. So people are taking advantage of our insecurity and monetizing it. Yet they're selling it to us hand in hand with this messaging that we're not productive enough alone. So I wanted to talk about a couple of the myths that surround this productivity culture, because time and time again we see the same arguments being made. First of all, the idea that we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
Like, yes, if you want to take this completely literally, yeah, we do have 24 hours in a day. But what they neglect to mention is that your socioeconomic status greatly affects your lifestyle, because having more money and more resources means you have more freedom to do whatever you want to do. And in resources, I'm including access to childcare, quiet spaces, healthcare, flexible work, and financial safety nets. Because someone who's living paycheck to paycheck can't afford to just drop everything and take on the risk of a new business venture, especially with no safety net whatsoever. So someone's risk tolerance, the amount of risk they're able to take on, completely depends on the privilege they have. More than that, sex and gender roles play a big part in this 24 hours as well, because those with periods experience completely different productivity cycles than those without. These 9-to-5 structures of work were traditionally designed for men and don't take into account the ebbs and flows of the 28-day cycle. And because traditional gender roles are still largely seen as the norm in society, it means that in many cases men have an unfair advantage. They've got more time and freedom to be productive, whereas a lot of the tasks that we see as traditionally feminine, childcare, housework, cooking and cleaning, we don't view them as productive in society. They don't get paid for it because we greatly devalue those jobs societally. In addition to this, that myth completely fails to take into account neurodivergence and people with chronic illnesses, because productivity culture assumes this stable energy throughout the week or the month, and with that stable energy, a linear output. It assumes that if you just increase your discipline, that solves every problem. But these arguments completely ignore fluctuating capacity, and they equate people who are having less output as people who are less moral. In many neurodivergent circles, we talk about the spoon theory, which was created by Christine Miserandino, and it's a metaphor for navigating life with limited energy due to chronic illness and disability. The number of spoons you have represent a finite daily supply of physical and mental energy, and every single task in the day costs an amount of spoons. For example, getting out of bed, maybe 1 or 2 spoons, having a shower, a spoon, going out and traveling to work, cleaning your home, cooking a real meal. But because you've only got a finite number of spoons, you have to ration energy and carefully manage your limited resources. But again, it's not a stable energy level. It's a different number of spoons every day. Some days getting out of bed might be 1 spoon, and some days it might be 10. And going over and pushing past your capacity level could lead to intense burnouts, longer term harm, if not worse. And that's ignoring the fact that many people can't push past that capacity level. So yeah, we might all have 24 hours, but we absolutely do not have the same conditions inside those hours. Now, the second myth I want to talk about is just wake up earlier and you'll be more productive. People love to say that a 4 a.m. wake up is like the crux of their productivity. But forcing yourself to wake up before dawn just so you can beat everyone else to tasks can be really counterproductive. Our brains need sleep. An adult needs 7 to 9 hours sleep to function properly. And a lack of sleep ends up harming our focus, moods, memory retention, and stress tolerance, all of which end up reducing our productivity. So if waking up at 4 a.m. means sleeping fewer hours than your body actually needs, you're actually impacting your ability to think and problem solve. And once again, sleep is something that we've inherently moralized in society. People who wake up early and go to bed early are seen as productive, but if you wake up late and go to bed late, you're just really lazy or not in control of your time. Which again is just another attack on the neurodivergent community, because many of us have later sleep cycles and are more productive in later times in the day. The third myth I want to talk about is busyness being equated with productivity, because we're constantly seeing videos online of people talking about their 7 income streams. Many people assume that the more tasks you're juggling, the more efficient you are, but it's a complete misconception. Our brains are designed to focus on one thing at a time, so what feels like doing multiple things is actually really rapid task switching, and that reduces our focus and increases the amount of errors that we're making. Being constantly busy often means that your attention is actually just split across lots of shallow tasks, instead of deep, meaningful focus. And there's tons of studies that show that this erodes your actual capacity to perform well. Another myth I'm constantly seeing online is that hard work always pays off. But look, while hard work can lead to results, it doesn't always guarantee success. The world is not a fair playing field, and success is largely influenced by someone's luck, their timing, structural opportunity they had in the first place. This is the argument between meritocracy and nepotism, so a lot more of the time it's about systematic advantages rather than your effort level. Many people like to say we're living in a meritocracy, where individuals are rewarded based on their demonstrated abilities, but a lot of the people telling you that are the ones benefiting from nepotism. And if we blindly believe that effort always equals outcome, we're overlooking the many real forces outside our control that shape the opportunities and rewards that we're receiving. Now, this is a quick one, but I have my reservations about people who talk about turning their hobbies into income, because not everything that you can do needs to be monetized. In fact, monetizing hobbies that you really enjoy, that give you passion for life, can kill the joy of them. And by putting pressure on them and monetization ability, you're taking away the restful creativity that comes with it. So please remember that not every hobby has to be a potential revenue stream. The last myth I want to talk about is more relevant than ever in the current time, because AI is being sold to us as a tool for our liberation, our freedom. We're told that AI automation will remove the repetitive work. AI will handle all the admin for us, and we'll be able to have more time to rest, create, problem solve, think. But there's a ton of scientific studies on automation in the workplace, and it shows something more complicated than that. Because when efficiency increases, expectations often increase alongside it. These productivity gains aren't reducing your workload, they're just being absorbed into higher output targets. Because if writing can be done quicker, then more writing is expected overall. And if emails can be drafted automatically, your response times are expected to be much quicker. And the thing is, AI raises those standards of comparison more than ever. Because it's not just about your workload and output anymore. Because if the person next to you is able to produce 10 times as much as you, your 10% feels completely inadequate, even if it's much better quality. So our human output isn't just being put against other humans anymore. We're being benchmarked against machine-assisted speed. And because there's so much uncertainty in the workplace surrounding this, and whether we'll all be replaced by AI, there's now even more new side hustle pressure. You should now be getting home from work and spending every ounce of your energy using AI to start building passive income and making digital products. If we zoom out from all of these issues, there are some clear patterns starting to emerge. Productivity has never just been about getting things done. And when society feels unstable, productivity culture spikes. The Industrial Revolution brought in this optimization of output. Major wars internationally have increased production levels. Productivity thrives when we're feeling insecure, because it promises us control in moments where we don't feel like we have any. But having control over parts of our life isn't the same as freedom. In pushing these narratives surrounding the productivity culture, it's teaching us that rest has to be earned, and that every second of our lives that we're not optimizing is our wasted potential. We're rewriting our own self-worth and attaching value to our output. And it's once again shifting our attention away from the actually important questions. It's making the systemic problems individual. It's telling us that we're the problem. It's telling us that it's our fault because we're not waking up at 4 a.m., not asking why the demands are so high in the first place. It's saying that it's our fault if we don't have the energy or capacity to build 7 income streams, rather than asking why one job isn't enough to have us live life. It's telling us that it's our problem if we're not motivated enough to build 7 income streams, rather than asking the problem of why one job isn't enough to live on. It's asking us to buy system upon system that optimizes another system, rather than questioning the original system in the first place. The walls being placed over our eyes, and we're being told to face inward rather than asking the wider problems. We're being told to try harder. Alright, final thoughts. We're currently living in some pretty uncertain times. AI is dramatically pushing this productivity culture mindset on us. And our use of social media is only amplifying these comparisons more and more. Because when we're at our worst and feeling guilty and shameful for not being productive enough, we're spending all of our time watching people who are showing themselves at their most productive. We're feeling the pressures of rising cost of living and economic anxiety, and we're being advertised monetization skills tools and tools everywhere we look. But just because productivity culture is resurging everywhere, it doesn't mean that we have to internalize it. Though again, it makes sense that we are internalizing it. This pressure of productivity isn't accidental, and it never was. It's systemic, and instead of facing it internally and asking ourselves questions and individualizing the problems, we have to ask who's profiting off our anxieties? Who's benefiting from this rise and grind culture? Because most of the time, it's not us. And so I want to pose the question to you. Who is profiting off your productivity? Are these tools making your life easier, or are they making someone else money? And have you managed to find a healthier relationship with productivity? Let me know in the comments below. Now that is all from me today, so thank you very much for following me along with this ride. As always, this is such a broad issue, and there's so much that I wasn't able to fit in this time, but if you want to see another video, I'm happy to make a part 2. So let me know below the questions that you want answered, and we can start a discussion in the comments. But that is all from me today, so if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like and a comment below, subscribe if you want to see more of my essays, and turn on the notification bell to be notified every time I post. And until then, have a wonderful week and don't work too hard.